What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage interviewing Dan Keller for the first time in 2020. What's up, Mr. Keller?
What's up, Mortgage Coach community? What's up, Dave?
I actually take that back. It's not the first time because you were on that Tuesday call yesterday.
Yeah.
And by the way, was that ridiculous? How good that was?
Blew my mind. I got off the call. I got off your interview and I had to run to a meeting back to back to back. I had to make my calls. And I came up for air at like 4:00 and I replayed it in my car and unreal. I mean, every single person that talked had just gold nuggets that you could just take away and implement. So it's one of those interviews you just need to watch a few times. So you, like, for example, Jeremy, and just see how he flows and just see how he talks. And it's so good. It was so good.
Well, Jeremy is so good. It's a bit intimidating because not everybody can just be that fluid, that quick, that fun. But so guys, we're on a rabbit trail, but I do want to just cover something real quick because it's such a powerful interview. I'm going to put a link down below. The title of it is What's Your Rate? I have thrown out a What's Your Rate challenge to the Mortgage Coach community because I want you to watch it. I want you to study it. I want you to share it, but I want you to do more than that. I want you to role play with it. Like if you're a branch manager, role play with your branch. If you're a loan officer, find someone that you can role play with and perfect. When a customer asks you what's your rate, you should be able to do it as well as the 10 people I had on that phone call. So link down below, check it out. So let's get into the topic, Dan. So I have had a couple different questions, Dan, in the Mortgage Coach community, ranging from, hey, I'm new to Mortgage Coach and I've got a realtor meeting. How do I use Mortgage Coach to the total cost analysis at a realtor meeting? I've had that. I've had, hey, I've got a lunch and learn and I want to pull up and show a total cost analysis. What do I do and how do I do it? That's come up. I saw you this weekend, and that's what spurred you and I getting on this call, is you clearly did not a lunch and learn, you did a home buyers workshop.
Yep.
And you took a picture and it showed a TCA and a bunch of home buyers in the background. So let's start with, if you could speak to the people asking those questions, how to use Mortgage Coach and at a home buyer workshop and or at a realtor lunch and learn. Dan Keller, go.
Yeah, I mean, I would start with a question, and I've done this before at both lunch and learns. See, real estate agents, they don't, unless they work with a Mortgage Coach lender, they have no idea. And so I always just ask realtors in general, you ever have clients that are on the fence? Do you ever have clients that you thought, you had in the bag, you showed them a handful of homes and they called you and said that they're going to put the search on hold? Have you ever really just wanted to educate a client, around the financial decision of homeownership or investing in real estate? Well, I have a solution to that problem. I have some software that I use that is it's crystal clear, it's user friendly, and what it is it's a roadmap. That's essentially what I use. It gets them going on the right path to understanding or improving their financial literacy. And when you start having those conversations with realtors, you then start separating yourself. Okay, you're nicely dressed, you're in a suit or whatever, you're the mortgage guy. Now you separate yourself as a financial professional versus just a loan officer or an order taker. And so I always start with a question like that.
And I think it's important that you want to get into a conversation where the realtor sees you as a conversion partner. Like if they've got realtor, or if you're doing a home buyer event, having you as their loan officer there, they're going to get more of those buyers into escrow because they had you. If you're presenting to realtors, they're going to look at you as, the guy can close loans on time and keep promises, but I'm going to convert more buyers and I'm going to sell more homes because of him. So with that, I know when you and I were prepping for this, and I just know because I've interviewed you before, you're really big on telling stories and explaining strategies. So could you speak to that a little bit in the context of a Mortgage Coach at a meeting?
Absolutely. I want to go back because I think this is really big. Mortgage Coach users, this should be a goal of yours. This year, I have three of my top realtors that I use. When they introduce me now, Dave, it's awesome. When they introduce me to a new client, it's like one of the reasons why I want you to meet with Dan is not only he's one of the best in the industry, we trust him with all of our clients, but he has this software that he uses to help present loan options and help you identify the right loan programs and how to structure the loan that I've never seen before. 3 realtors now are introducing me that way to their new clients. And so they're coming over to me going, oh, that's what Christian was talking about. Oh, that's what Adam was talking about. So that's a what's that word? Differentiating factor. That's something, that's a big word for me, but that's something that separates you from other people in the marketplace. So my goal this year, I have 3. I'm trying to add 2 more referring realtors that will see so much value in how I present loan options with Mortgage Coach that they start referring me that way. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I like it. That was a little bonus script. So let's talk about what you do specifically at a home buyer event, because I know I put a post in the Mortgage Coach Facebook group where I think you said you can't do borrower education without, and I'll let you finish the sentence, and you had a picture of Mortgage Coach. So what was happening there? Like that picture said 1,000 words. What are the 1,000 words? What was happening there, and how did you do it?
Yeah. So it was an Instagram post, and we do 2 home buyer classes a month, and we have no problem filling them. You can follow me on Instagram for proof in the pudding. We had about 32, 33 attendees Saturday morning for brunch and home buying. And I had just finished talking about the mortgage part of the home buyer class. And I don't really go by an outline or a script. That's one of the things that makes our home buyer classes so special is we story sell. There's obviously an agenda, but we're educating the attendees through the things that they need to know about the real estate and mortgage process without going, all right, so now we're going to talk about contracts. Now we're going to talk about home inspection. And so I always, when I start off the mortgage part of my presentation, I always start off with a story. And I always use the rent versus own. There's so many educational tools that can come out of a simple rent versus own total cost analysis. And I don't call it rent versus own because I don't want them to feel like they're versus each other, they're fighting. I want them to feel like they have 2 awesome options in front of them, because let's face it, if you're living downtown Seattle right now and you're paying $1,500 a month in rent, that's a pretty good situation right now. So it's something that, hey, I might stay put for 12 months. But most of our clients that attend these classes are paying $2,500 to $3,000 a month in rent. I can show them what it might look like if they were to purchase. So I start with rent versus own. As far as
time out, you said you didn't call it rent versus own. What do you call it? Rent or own, or what do you call it?
You can rent or you can own. It's up to you.
Okay, so that's how you start the conversation. You can rent or you can own. It's up to you. You tell a story, and the rent versus own analysis of Mortgage Coach is the storytelling, the visual storytelling mechanism. Is that how it works? Yeah,
there's the story that I give every single time. It's from 2013. It was an Amazon employee that moved here. He didn't know anything about the area. He was pre-approved with me for FHA. And in 2013, 2014, the market was starting to pick up. It was getting more competitive. He was shopping, and he kept getting beat out by all cash and higher down payment offers. And so what we did is we went and we had him fully underwritten approved so that we could close in 10 days. And long story short, he was stretching his budget. So I kind of talk about using Mortgage Coach. He understood that it was going to be about $1,000 more a month to purchase a home in his price point. But with the tax benefits, with the possibility of appreciation and then paying down your principal, he understood the long-term value, and he didn't think his job at Amazon was going anywhere. He thought he'd be here for at least 5 to 10 years. So we fast forward, we end up helping this guy get into a home. He buys a home for $375,000. Today, that home is worth $800,000. So, and the guy is beyond elated every time we see him. He's one of my VIP clients, and he's sitting on nearly $500,000 he's improved his total net worth by $500,000, put it that way, by taking the plunge and choosing to get into home ownership. So we start with that. He wouldn't, and he'll even say this, he wouldn't have purchased without being educated on the true benefits of home ownership. And 2, if we hadn't gone the extra mile and had him fully underwritten, approved. So I always start with that, because one of the big, you have to understand your audience, Dave. Their biggest fears right now is Seattle's one of the hottest markets in the country. I don't have a big down payment, so how do I compete? And what's up with the economy? Are we near a bubble? Is it gonna pop? It's an election year. And we survey people at the end of every class, so we know the answers to their biggest fears. And so we center our presentation around that, and we story sell through those scenarios, and it's huge.
So how many people did you say were at this most recent event?
33 on Saturday. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, on another note, how are you doing for the year so far, 2020? How did you do last month, and what do you think you're going to do, in February for fundings?
Yeah, last month, January was up. February, we'll see, is right on pace. Last year, we closed 19 units in February, and we're 15 to 19 right now. So we have inventory problems up here right now. And then obviously refinance is big, but yeah, about approximately 20.
Okay, so guys, listen up. A guy who's closing, 15 to 20 loans a month in that market. He knows his market. So first question for the gentleman who made the post, know your market, know the pain. And this goes for whether it's a realtor or a bunch of families who are first-time home buyers. You got to know the pain. And then I think whether you're talking to a group of realtors or you're talking to a group of home buyers, it's tell stories. Most loan officers, most realtors are going to do what I call transactional education.
Yep.
Oh, here's a definition of terms. It's gonna read like a textbook. And at Mortgage Coach, I mean, there is a time for some transactional education, but most of the time you want to tell stories and educate them through the story. And I love this. This is a room full of first-time home buyers in a Seattle-like market. You've got a story. So have a story, and then have a total cost analysis that helps you bring that story to life. Okay, so now I've interviewed a lot of people on whether it's a group of home buyers or a group of realtors. Some of them use a combination of slides and an actual TCA. I do know that most of the time, and I don't know if it's different with you, but you want them to get it on their mobile device. So even if you're using slides, you want them to walk out with, hey, I know what it's like to get advice from Dan Keller on my mobile device. So my first question is, do you use slides? Do you use an actual live mortgage coach, or both? How do you do it?
So here's our strategy in a nutshell. We put on an incredible class. We feed them and we give them a ton of value. The Christian and I, you've met Christian, and he has the same heart as myself. We're here to teach. And what Christian and I, our goal is to, over the last 4 years, we've really kind of understood how to sell to millennials. You and Kristen Meserly do a great job educating us on kind of the mindset and how they interpret us in a transactional process. And I've figured this out. If you can teach a millennial, and I think this is good for any generation, but specifically millennials, if you can teach a millennial something that they thought they knew and inspire them to maybe think differently about it, or maybe uncover, hey, you know what? I thought I had the answer to that. Or I thought I knew this, but I didn't, and this makes sense, then you'll have their attention. So what we try to do in our class, we know what their fears are. We know what their worries are. We try to teach things you can't Google. All right. And that's kind of, you can't really Google. I guess you could if you're like mortgage coach, rent versus own. But most first-time home buyers aren't looking up a rent versus own analysis. They might be looking up the pros and cons of buying. And so what we're doing through the home buyer class is and there's only about 10 slides, but every slide is trying to teach them something, one, that they don't know, but two, also trying to get them to figure out something that, wow, you know what? I've never heard of that, or I've never seen of that, or haven't looked that up before. And so when I talk about renting or owning, one of the key components is the net payment. The reason why I love that net payment is because most people still think this, and I don't know, maybe they don't know, I don't know why, but they think I'm paying $2,500 a month in rent, so I want my mortgage payment to be about $2,500, kind of what I'm paying in rent. And so what I'll do is I'll put up a slide that has about a $3,400 a month payment, and then we'll have a conversation around that, and then we'll drop down 2 line items and say, okay, but the actual net is identical. So that's something right there. When I show that rent or own slide, that's the number one aha that we see right away is, wow, we weren't thinking in apples to apples world. We were thinking in apples to oranges world.
So I love that. I hope you guys all took that note, because this is the answer. You want them to go, I hadn't thought of this before. I love the way you said it. I need to teach them something they can't get on Google. So do you mind pulling up your desktop and showing us a slide, and let's go through it. Mortgage coach community, anybody that's listening to this, if you have a question for Dan, put it down below in comments. If you have a question that you just like to get an answer to, put it down, and I'll either add it to the list for questions at our Friday mastermind. So every Friday, 9 o'clock Pacific, we are giving you value. In fact, I'm going to have Craig Sewing as my guest this Friday, Dan. I don't know if you want to pop in. Yeah. He, as you know, he came out with his new book, American Dream 2.0, and we're gonna talk about Craig's new book. So check it out. So I'm looking at the screen and I see a TCA now. Is this a slide or is this an actual total cost analysis?
Yeah. So let me explain to kind of our process. So that's in the class. I use slides like this in the class to educate and walk them through the benefits of renting and versus owning. But what we do at the end of the class, after we've delivered a ton of value, there's been ahas, we do a drawing for a $50 gift card. And in that drawing, they have to fill out a survey that basically has a lot of their personal information, their timeline for buying a home, what they're currently paying in rent, their contact info, even down to their address. So we can send them a note card. And they have to fill this out in order to go in for this drawing. And it's a $50 gift card to the restaurant that we normally host these at. And then right as we're getting ready to announce the winner, we do the drawing right in front of everyone. We say, listen, if you found this valuable today, one of the things that we've done that has been an extension of this class that really gets you moving in the right direction is 24 to 48 hours after this class, we're going to have a strategy session. We're going to book out 4 hours, 30-minute increments, and here's the sign-up sheet. You can sign up for a strategy session meeting with both me, the realtor, and Dan, the lender. And we're all going to be there, and we can kind of strategize and mastermind a game plan for you. You can sit down and you have our full attention for 30 minutes, and then we can help advise you on whether you should wait or you should buy. That's probably one of the biggest things. We added this about 4 years ago that's helped our conversion rate go through the roof with the class. Most people have classes, and then they try to call, and they follow up, and there's no value, and they lose leads. We typically get 6 to 8 people to RSVP for strategy sessions following the class. This report that you see on my screen is a gentleman that was at our class on Saturday, and he filled out the card and set up a time for a strategy session. And he happened to say that he didn't have much saved up for down payment, but wanted to make a note that he served in the Army, just got out of the Army a year ago, and now he's working for Facebook. And so I'm sitting here right before the strategy session, I'm putting this together for him, and he wrote that his plan to buy was 2 to 3 years down the road, but he wasn't aware of his VA benefits. And we sit down yesterday. We had his strategy session actually on Tuesday night, and I showed him this. He has about $46,000 to his name. He just started at Facebook. So my advice to him after we started talking was get settled in at Facebook. Understand, how much money you're getting paid, when you're getting paid, get a better understanding of how your financial situation will look in the next 6 months. But I would encourage you to purchase sooner versus 2 or 3 years. And here's why. I showed him this, Dave, and he literally wanted to go out shopping this weekend with the realtors because it was so powerful. So he is paying right now $2,500, basically $2,600 a month. Benjamin's paying $2,600 a month in rent. And he was thinking that he'd like a mortgage payment right about the same. So we go VA, $600,000, 0 down, total monthly payments $3,200 a month. But when I showed him the net, this line right here, his mind was blown. And when I explained that to him, because he kind of understood it in the class, but when we sat down and explained this to him, he then asked me to add another column, maybe go a little bit higher, and then use some of his money for a down payment. And then the last column, we've talked about this before. If you wanted to wait a year and a half, this is what that same home at $600,000, $625 is going to look like. Interest rates are going to be in the 5s possibly, and you're looking at, with a 7 to 8% appreciation rate, a value of $675. Your payment will go up $1,000 a month. So Ben, what could you do with an extra $1,000 a month? So this software opens up conversations that people would never have with people, and home buyers would never have if it weren't for a mortgage coach, loan officer sitting down with this software, sharing this information with them.
So I want to make sure everybody listening has got a few things. So one, the fact that Dan showed the total cost analysis within the experience and then said, and if you'd like me to do a personalized custom version of this, it improved his conversion. Like if he just gave transactional education, they saw him as like, I'm the loan guy. It's like, when you're ready to buy, I'll take your app. If that was, I'll give you a fee worksheet. If that was it, this guy might have waited a year till he wanted the fee worksheet and the pre-approval. But Dan wasn't selling a pre-approval and a fee worksheet. He was selling a rent versus own analysis.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, you want to sit down and let's project this out based off of today's rates, today's values, today's options, and let's put in a year from now, based on your assumptions, let's put that in and see what things look like. So he got more people to talk to him.
Yeah.
And then he was able to have a more compelling conversation. And what realtor would not want to work with a loan officer that can do this? And the only loan officer that can do this is not only a mortgage coach, but a well-trained mortgage coach. That's why we have our black belt series. Dan is a red belt. He's done over 1,000 total cost analysis. So I think you crushed it, by the way. And I do want to keep this, a 20-minute-ish interview.
Yeah.
So for the people that have been asking this question, you should either have a slide and or a live total cost analysis as part of every presentation. You should tell a story around it. And then you should say, who do you want me to do one with?
Yeah.
And if you're meeting with realtors, you should be doing seller buy downs, and go check out sellerbuydown.com and then go, what house do you have that you'd like me to see if a seller buy down can help you sell it? And that's just one idea. I mean, like, I'm not saying seller buy downs the be all. I'm just saying it's a strategy that gets realtors to think differently. Mm-hmm. And a mortgage coach rent versus own is something that gets buyers to think differently. So Dan, any other key concepts you want to make sure we cover before we wrap this up? Yeah,
we talked about this yesterday on the call with, Josh Metal. And I know Josh, I think it was Josh Metal that talked about this with Renee Rodriguez, that when you're answering the what is your rate question, I mean, you got to feel it down in your gut and in your heart that the advice that you're giving the consumer, you truly mean it. And I'm sitting across the table last night with
so Ben. Dan, real quick, are you done with the screen here? Because I was going to say, okay, so let's stop sharing that just so we can see the whole Dan Keller as we're going into wrap up mode. Yep. All right, go ahead.
You have to believe. You have to believe what you're presenting. And what I shared with Ben last night, and he felt this. He even said it to me. He said, I realize the true benefit of doing this, and you're certain that this is the right decision for me, and it's a no-brainer. And when we talk about 3.375 VA 30-year fixed rates right now in that report, that's a gift. Like it was 8 months ago, rates were in the fives. And so understanding that the difference between this gift that we have right now and where rates will be, because this won't last long, is a difference of approximately $1,000 a month in payment. It's a no-brainer. And he got to see that. I felt it in my gut. I felt it in my heart. Same thing when we answered that rate question. They have to feel that that you're passionate about it and you're confident about that advice.
Well, I love this story for so many reasons. I mean, one, I think it's important for all of us in the mortgage business to realize that VA loans aren't just another loan program. They are a benefit to women who have served our country. Yeah. It is a benefit. And so you were able to help him understand that benefit is here today. And you were able to help him see the buy now versus wait. So it wasn't just rent versus own. It was like, what's 13 a year from now? Yep. Important to note, based off of his assumptions in the market, cool. So this has been great. Remember, anyone and everyone, if you have questions for Dan, put them down below. Dan, are you willing to share some of your slides that you use just so we can see a sample of those?
Yep. Yeah, there's a couple where I use the payment breakdown option. So what I'll do is I'll put a couple of the slides that we use or the TCAs and maybe screenshot them or just put them down in the comments below so you can see. But it's a great tool.
Put a link to a TCA
Okay.
in the link down below, and then you know, a screenshot of a couple slides so that people can get a feel what it's like to be in one of your home buyers workshops. And guys, it's not much different if you're speaking to a group of realtors.
Yeah.
You're using Mortgage Coach to tell stories and explain strategies, and just make sure that they're understanding the value outside of that one-to-many event. So Dan Keller, dude, I appreciate you being a leader in this community, and looking forward to seeing you in person sometime soon, and looking forward to our next call together, man.
You got it, man. Thanks for all you do, Dave.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, Dan.
All right. Bye.
Take care.